Can you give us any hints for book 2? Because you're all on book 2 about to come out.
She's in the thick of book 2.
Now, what is the name of book 2 for you?
It's called Through the Evernight.
Through the Evernight.
Awesome title.
And will it have more, kind of the same balance of dome, or will there be more of the dome in there? Or can you say?
I can say there will be more. There'll be more of Arya's world for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really love like Perry's world and stuff. So, but it would be interesting to see.
Yeah,
more
you'll
of
see
the
more
dome.
for sure.
And where did you come up with the name Peregrine?
You know, it just
Falcons,
yeah, it's a falcon.
Okay, that's what I wondered if it had anything to do with Lord of the Rings or.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It didn't. I kind of like it just popped into my head, and I put it in. And I was like, I was working on the manuscript, and I was like, I don't know, it's kind of a random name. I don't know if I'm like crazy about it. And then I was in Central California, where I sort of set the location for where his tribe is, and I was taking some photographs of this beach in Morro Bay, and there's this big rock there. It's called Morro Rock, and I found out that it's a wildlife sanctuary for the peregrine falcon, and I was like, okay, that's a sign. You know,
or hints about book 2.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Unless
you
spoil
spoil
it. I want spoilers.
I can say that you, like, so much happens. Lots of, like, twists, lots of, like, unexpected things, big reveals, that sort of thing. You learn why, spoiler alert for book 1, but you learn, like, exactly why. Oh, you haven't read it.
Closure.
That's okay. You learn exactly
In,
why
like, 2 weeks.
why Adam and Warner can touch Juliet, and why there's like specific, there are like in-depth reasons for all of that, and all of that comes to light. You also learn a lot more about Juliet's ability, because like in the first book you see like it's not just her touch, but then she like can like break things and whatever, and she's like, I don't even know what's happening. And what's funny to me is that like everyone always compares her to Rogue, and I'm like, you have no idea what's about to happen. Like she's really it's a lot more than that. So you'll learn a lot more about her, why she is the way she is, and what she can do. It's just like, you know, it's basically like a lot of things are left unanswered in the first book, and it's like so like almost all of those questions are answered, and then like a ton more are asked, and then those get answered.
When does book 2 come out? And what's the name?
It's called Unravel Me, and it'll be out February 5th, 2013.
Okay, that's
So far away.
I
know, but
I feel like we just got done with February.
we have fun stuff coming up before the second book comes out, so
good.
it'll be you won't be disappointed. It isn't what you think,
Okay.
but it's I'm excited about it. So
Does any of your book 2 introduce any new characters that you can maybe mention or anything?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mine brings in some new characters that are actually mentioned in the first book. So, like I mentioned, Liv and Sable will meet him, and so yeah, there's a couple of new added characters.
Yeah, you meet a lot of people who are talked about and alluded to in the first book. The king becomes one of the main characters of the book. You learn a lot about him, what his motivations are. You learn a lot about Moss, who's one of the characters who's kind of mentioned peripherally. And there's several new characters. There are a few people who are living in the palace who play a huge role. Some befriend Eve, some are Eve's new enemies, and she has to kind of figure out who she's going to trust.
I don't know how much you want to talk about book 1. I don't know if it's too spoilery to talk about the end, but I know Kid was a little upset with
About the end. I know, I get a lot of flack for the end. But I will say I always envision this as a 3-book series, and to me, I understand the frustration with cliffhangers, but I believe in cliffhangers in the first and second books. There will be no cliffhanger in the third book, I assure you.
If there was anything in your books that you could change, go back and change, would there be anything that you would change?
No, not for me. I can definitely say no. I'm happy with the way that it is, and I wouldn't change it. Yeah, no. You know, it's a representation of like who you were at that time and your skills at that time. So even if like I could improve, you know, like the language or anything like that, I wouldn't want to, because it's like a souvenir of that time of my life and what I was doing and thinking, and so it's in a way it's like this. Even its imperfections are like you know are great because that's what it was then, you know, and it's great that to keep it that way.
Yeah, overall, I wouldn't change kind of overall what happens in the first book. But I'm the type of person, it's like they're tearing the arc away from. They're like, really, no more changes. Stop. Like, put it down. Step away from the manuscript. It's over. Like, you know. So I'm constantly in my head. You know, I always know that, you know, there are little, even line edits that could be made. Sometimes I notice, like, a word that has an echo or something, and I'm like, oh, I would take that out if I could. But for the most part, I do, once the book comes out, I set it down and I move on.
Yeah.
And now I'm worried about the third book. So I'm revising that instead and focused on that. But overall, in terms of what actually happens in that first book, yeah, I'm happy with it.
I'd have to. I mean, I agree with both of you, but I think I'd even say specifically what Veronica said.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like it was exactly what I wanted it to be. It's a very different kind of book, and it's written in a way that's like very unusual in some ways. But I felt like it was absolutely 150% true to what I felt Juliet's character was, because the prose, it's like it's part of her. I mean, it's like it evolves as she does, it changes as she does, and I felt like it was. I mean, so I wouldn't change any of it. I feel like all of it just worked together. The writing and the characters and everything, like they all needed to be the way that they were.
I know you listen to the Inception soundtrack when you're writing, but is there like any music that inspires you while you're writing, or that you listen to like get, I don't know,
Get
your writing going?
I was listening when I wrote the first ebook. I was listening a lot to Lungs, the Florence and Machine album, and I had listened to that in the car and on my iPod, and you know, just continually throughout that whole process. And probably after the second draft, maybe the first or second draft, I was listening to it. And I started listening to the song "Howl." I don't know if you know that song. It's like, if you could only see the beast you made of me. A lot of the imagery is of a girl running through the woods, and it talks a lot about like love and how this love has kind of like overwhelmed her, and she was warned against it, but she couldn't, you know, help herself. And it's almost to a T, like frighteningly similar to the kind of overall concept and idea of Eve. So. That was really, I think about that song a lot, even when I hear it now. It always reminds me of the book.
One that I really love is E.S. Posthumous, which is like these really big, epic music, and it's awesome, and it's really like, just captures tons of emotions, either like really high intensity, or it's like this really beautiful, sort of sweeping. I think it's like the main song for Sherlock Holmes, like that, you know, that opening, it's like, just gets your heart racing. And anyway, it's great writing music. I recommend it to a lot of writers, and people are always like, oh my god, it's great, I love it. A Dark Knight is a really good soundtrack
as well. And then
really good.
Also,
I really like
Chemical Brothers.
I love the
They
Chemical
did the
Brothers.
whole soundtrack for what's it called, Hannah. Have you guys seen
that.
that?
Yeah.
Loved that movie.
I love that movie a lot.
Well, I guess that's all we have.
So much. We took up so much of your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. We just like feel so comfortable. We're just
I know. I thought we were hanging out.
Adam takes his shirt off, but he does that a lot.